Hey my friends, I'm Sef McCullough. This is the Photoshop FAZE YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you something that you've probably run into in your photography. It's called extensions. You got the perfect photograph, the model did exactly what you wanted, you made your select, but the framing wasn't quite right. Today I'm using an image from my buddy John Gress. He's an awesome photographer, lives in Chicago. Just last week he did just that. He got this perfect shot. The model is just floating. She feels light. Unfortunately, her toe is off the frame. Now, don't worry, John has been appropriately reprimanded. He'll never do that again. I know you guys would never do that in your shoots, but just in case you did capture something where a part of the model was off frame, or maybe the shadow was off frame, I'm going to show you how to fix that. An extension like this could either take 2 hours or it could take 15 minutes. If you follow the steps I'm going to show you here, you're going to be in that 15-minute camp. So here's John's really awesome image. It's beautiful. He shot this just last week for an Ellen Chrome special event. They had a shoot off. So this model came in and a bunch of different photographers did some really incredible shots throughout the day with different lighting setups. So in his, you can see why he chose this select. It's so light. She's got such a great look. All of the jacket's floating. Her form's perfect. Unfortunately, a little bit of her shoe fell off the frame. So that is no big deal. First thing I want to do is I'm just going to simply grab a little toe from the other foot. I just Control C for copy, Control V to paste it into this new layer here. So what I'm going to do now, which you might not have thought of, is I'm going to convert this to a smart object. I'm going to show you why that's important in a minute. So let's just start by giving her a new toe. She deserves a toe. So I'm zooming in. I'm going to transform this. Command T allowed me to rotate it. So I'm going to hit Enter because I need to see what's behind it. And I can't right now. So I'm going to move back to my move tool by hitting V and just hit a number key, 5. Now what that does is it reduces the opacity of my layer to 50%. Great, so now I can see what I'm doing because this is slightly transparent and I just want to line it up. So the beauty of converting this to a smart object is now I can hit Command T and you see here this bounding box still conforms to my original crop that I made of the toe. So that to me is really, really valuable because what it means is that I'm making non-destructive edits. I can go in and warp it. Check that out. Hit Enter. It's warped. See, I didn't like that. I hit Transform again, Control T, and I can go in and change it more without manipulating or destroying any of the pixels by repeated transforms or warps. But I don't want it to look like that. I'm going to undo, and I just want to line it up with the existing toe. So it doesn't need to be perfect. She just needs a little bit of that bottom edge. And I'm going to put a mask on this layer, fill it with black, change to my brush, 100% opacity on white, and paint into the layer. And there, okay, she's got a toe back. That's passable. So that kind of leads to another issue. So all of these beautiful shadows that John crafted with his lighting need to extend to meet the shoe. And then we also need to extend the entire background to fill this space. This is how John's indicated to me what he wants his new framing to be. This is how much space he wants to work with overall. What I want to do is get the model out of this background so I can deal with it completely on its own. So what I'm going to do is select both of these layers, and with Control-Alt-Shift selected, I'm going to click Merge Layers. So I call that stamping up. What that means is that I took any number of layers that were selected, hold down Control, Alt, and Shift and hit Merge Layers. And what that's going to do is bring all that stuff up to a brand new layer. So I want a quick way to get this model out of here. So I'm going to do Select Subject. So that did a pretty decent selection in just a matter of seconds. It didn't get quite everything. So what I'm going to do is go into Select, Modify, Expand, and by 10 pixels, I'm going to expand the selection. I'm going to hit my lasso tool by hitting the L key, hold down Shift to add to my selection to just make sure that I've got everything, including flyaways. I want the model to be completely gone from the background. Everything else looks like it's within my selection. I'm going to duplicate that layer up by holding down Alt and just dragging it up. It duplicates it. You can also hit Command J. And I'm going to use the magic of Photoshop, Edit, Fill, Content Aware. So as a result of some serious voodoo witchcraft, the model has now disappeared. I love it. So this is before and after. So this is what Photoshop does really, really well, is in a background that is mostly made up of gradients, you know, a seamless, for instance, it really knows how to content aware fill objects completely out and continue some of the gradients that are in the background. I use that constantly. The other thing I'm going to do is take this opportunity to just remove that C-stand leg. You can also hotkey this by hitting Shift F5. Content aware fill is going to pop right up. And boom. Goodbye C-stand leg. So we've got this background. It's a good start. I'm going to keep going with content aware fill. So I'm going to select this top area, Shift F5. This should be a really easy one for Photoshop to figure out. Beautiful. And Control D, Command D. I'm going to select the lower part. Now, I don't like that little blob that was left over, so I'm going to switch to my lasso tool by hitting L, hold down Shift to add to the selection. I'm going to see if it will be kind enough to remove that as well. It might not. Shift F5, content aware, fill, go. All right, beautiful. That is incredible. That saved me so much time. It's not perfect, but man, that's a great start. So let's take a look with the model back in there, because that's going to help me make some decisions now. So I'm going to turn this layer back on. You can see, so the layer, it looks seamless because it still contains the background. I want to get that model out of the background, have her isolated, so I can work on the background and the model separately. That's the best case scenario here. So I want to get a selection of the model. So I'm going to go up again with this layer 1 selected. You know, just for housekeeping, let's name this model. And let's name this BG. Okay, the reason I type all caps on my layer names is because Photoshop by default uses upper and lowercase. I can always tell layers that I have created and that are important to me because they are all caps. It's just an easy way to organize. So I'm going to go back up to Select Subject. Oh, and you'll see I was on the wrong layer, but look what Photoshop tried to do. It tried to figure out what the subject was of that background layer, and it did a pretty good job. So I want to do that on the model layer. and not a bad job. So I think I can use that. I'm just going to apply that as a mask. Once you have a selection up, you can just hit the mask button there at the bottom of your layers palette, and I want to see what the mask is doing. So I'm going to hold down Shift and click on the mask to turn it on and off. So definitely some stuff was taken away around the hair and eyelash that I want to retain. So I'm going to switch to my brush tool, B, bring up white, soft brush, 100%. Oh, let me turn my mask back on so we can see the results. And brush back in on the mask to bring some of those flyaways back. And if I hold down Alt, I can look at the mask. So you see where I painted in. It's pretty sloppy and rushed, but if I want quick results, this is how I'm going to go at it. The hand is also getting chewed up a little bit. I'm going to bring that back. Okay, here on the toe, I'll show you some tricks. So I want to paint back in on that mask, but I want a fairly precise edge. I'm going to switch to a hard round brush, and this is where I'm going to put my Wacom pin down and switch to my mouse. So I'm going to click once, click, hold down Shift, click, hold down Shift. See how it makes a line? When you hold down Shift and click, Photoshop creates a stroke of the brush along the line that you defined. So here I'm going to use one more quick little mask tool trick. I'm going to switch to the smudge tool, and I can smudge my mask in these areas and just basically tuck it up into those areas so I don't have any more of that background coming through. That's a quick down and dirty mask adjustment, but fine, that's great. On this mask, I think I'm going to select it and add some feather here, not 627. I'm just going to do 1. Great, so that gets me about 90% of the way there, and with a little bit more finessing, I can make that perfect. But let's move on to another big win. So the big takeaways here are using select subject to get a really quick selection of whatever is central in your photograph. Photoshop does a pretty good job of that, but then you've got to clean up the selection afterwards using the lasso tool. The second big win here is seeing the power of content-aware fill. It's incredible. It's a consistent part of my workflow. I always use it in this way because it just gets me so much further ahead than I would by hand. Third thing, if you're gonna copy something to comp in someplace else, convert it to a smart object, because then you can continually adjust your warps and transforms as you move forward and change your decisions. In the next step, I'm going to show you how to actually fix the shadow and do some cleanup on the seamless that would have normally taken a long time, but can now be done in a matter of minutes. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please give it a like down below. And if you want to see more, please subscribe to the Photoshop FAZE YouTube channel.